pretty much systemic. So you just can't deal with the effects. You have to deal with the cause. You got to deal with the root of the cause. Before, it was just acid rain for some. Then it was radiation from different nuclear power plants that went through meltdowns or partial meltdowns. The last one being what some refer to as Fukushima. Putting a lot of cesium-137 and other types of radiation into the atmosphere and into the water. So those that consume flesh out of the sea have found their health diminished, knowingly or unknowingly. Radiation has gotten into the topsoil, which gets into vegetation, and into other animals that consume it. For folks that eat the different types of flesh, whether it be land or sea-based. Then, of course, the advent of what some call fracking has led to massive amounts of hydrogen sulfide and methane being released. And then when you're taking into account the radium that comes from the actual drilling, that's radioactive, and folks are taking the filters from that, and they're basically dumping them. And folks are finding them, and they're taking them to various dump sites, and stuff is radioactive. So many folks coming in contact with radiation from multiple sources now. You're seeing dramatic impacts on the physical body is what I'm getting to. Discolorations and kidney issues, liver issues, blood sugar issues, hair loss, pattern baldness, and a whole host of things. A rise in autism and a whole host of other things that are the byproduct. So there are folks that will call this conjecture. There are folks that will argue into the ground that this is all being made up. They can say it. That's about all they can do is say it. In the end, as we rise, as we as a folk across this planet rise, it'll be upon us to clean up this mess. The good news, though, is Earth Umi, or Earth Mother, is helping. There are various plants that grow and apparently are growing in larger quantity than they generally have been. And those plants generally consume radiation. There are those who may not be familiar with the science of phytoremediation, but you know from dealing with the oil spill from BP into the Gulf of the Mexico, we were suggesting then, and looking to help the process and have folks to come together with a plan and fund it to engage in phytoremediation, to basically have microbes that eat oil released to eat the oil and get it out of the Gulf of the Mexico. Phytoremediation is not just for oil cleanup, not just for areas that have a lot of chemicals and toxins in the soil. You can use it to take toxins out of the air. And Earth Mother is creating all these types, or rejuvenating all these types of plants that, and causing them to grow in significant numbers, that they're consuming the radiation out of the air. Now, I can't say that about the hydrogen sulfide at the moment, nor the methane at the moment. However, I'm sure Earth Mother will defend herself. It's the nature of how it's always been before we were a thought on this planet. So parties need to be clear that all those chemicals and radiation, all these things, these food additives, the prenatal drugs to effeminate the males, and the immunizations that butcher up the females, and all that other carrying on that the hostiles do, and now with their biological warfare in the form of their weaponized Ebola nonsense, folks need to calm down a minute and just breathe. Breathe a minute. Think. And realize it's a virus. They're bacteria, germs. And yes, folks can artificially change the enzymes in the DNA and all that type of carrying on and make them stronger and resistant to particular things. However, for every piece of insanity they come up with, Earth Mother always counters, and where she does not counter, the sun always counters. Our bodies are mutating. And I know folks who are crying and complaining and very upset because young brother Brown, Michael Brown's body was left out for hours. This is not a new phenomenon. They've been keeping bodies of our kith and kindred that have passed form out for a while, for several years now, because they know that as rigor mortis begins to set in, particular things begin to get secreted, which they look to harvest later on beyond your line of sight. That's generally what they do and what they have done. There's a thing called interferons and alpha interferons. This is why when a lot of the elders about to make a transformation or to pass form, they sometimes knowingly or sometimes they inform rather or don't inform that they remove the testicles from these elders before they pass form, because they have all the interferons, especially alpha interferons, in the testicles. And what does that mean? That's basically how you pump up weak or non-existent immune systems. You use alpha interferons to do that. So this is all about harvesting. And I know folks have been talking about, recently anyway, about the harvesting issue. This is not a new discussion. Harvesting of organs and harvesting of basically your hormones has been going on now for 30-some-odd plus Earth years. So no need to waste time getting angry about it. Organize and recalibrate your thought process and take the hostiles out of your equation. Taking care of your own independent sovereign nation on your own terms, your own industry, commerce, and trade on your own terms is what we're all about. So from the time you walk through our front door, this is what you've been getting taught. And this is how we continue to grow and advance. The further along all of you get in training, the better for all of us, because now we can get more stuff done to change the equation, to save lives and improve the quality of lives, including dealing with all the food additives and all the other nonsense. So everyone needs just to calm down and relax and just think a minute, because you can't think clearly when you're eating incorrectly. So we're asking you to think a minute to the point that you find ways to change what you're eating. Change your eating habits, then you'll change your chemical balance. And your thoughts are nothing more than chemical reactions with a charge of electricity to them. So if you're chemically imbalanced, you're not going to think clearly. It's as simple as that. So you want to fix all this? You know, a lot of times we get approached, I get asked questions about, all right, I'm coming to His-Imperial-Majesty one day, what should I study? The first thing I generally say to folks is, well, what are you eating? Change your eating habits. That's where you always start, because you have to be chemically balanced. And if you're eating slop, if you eat physical slop, you're going to be mental slop. And it's just basically